Welcome. For those who don't know, this is Elder Emoja Ajabu, your host for Ajabu Speaks. This program is dedicated to stripping the clothes off of well-dressed lives, and there's a bunch of well-dressed lives running around here. This program takes a point of departure of being a Pan-African. As a Pan-African, doesn't make any difference where the African is born or whose country the African has leadership with. It doesn't care if you was born in France and then you call yourself a Frenchman, or you was born in Germany and you call yourself a German, or you was born in America and you call yourself an American. Even if you was born in China and you call yourself a Chinaman or Chinese, it don't make no difference where you was born. This program, as a Pan-African, looks at where you started. It looks at where your history is. It looks at that you are from the African continent. I'm unbossed and unafraid of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt-naked truth. I want to get into this thing that has been now labeled or become known as Signalgate. And that was where the editor of the Atlantic magazine was included into a chat room on Signal by one of the leaders of Duck's intelligence leadership. The Atlantic, in which the magazine's editor, Jeffrey Goldberg, tells how he was somehow added to a communal chat on the commercially available messaging system Signal. This chat was labeled Houthi PC Small Group. On this chat, the national security leadership discussed the details of bombing Houthi strongholds in Yemen. On this call were, watch this, Vice President J.D. Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Stephen Witkoff, the president's leading shuttle negotiator, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, and Mike Waltz, the national security advisor. All these national security leaders on a Signal chat group, and none of them noticed Goldberg's number as a strange number. Imagine that. This sounds like an open door meeting. Where is the security? Now, Duck's position, along with the people mentioned, will have us believe that it was a mistake to have Jeffrey Goldberg on the chat. They would have us believe that Goldberg on the chat was unintentional. The question we need to ask ourselves is, really? I am not trying to tell you what to think, but I am provoking you to think. The elder has said this before, but let me say it again. Thinking is the process of asking yourself a series of questions and finally asking yourself if what these people are saying to make us to believe, does it make sense? We just don't accept what Duck says is going on to be actually what is going on. We question the facts given and decide for ourselves what has really happened. Now, Michael Waltz the national security advisor, says he will take responsibility for Goldberg being on the chat. Why? Is Waltz admitting to being personally the one who set up the chat group? Why would he personally set up his group and he has a staff with security clearances? The National Security Advisor is supported by NSC staff who produce classified research and briefings for the National Security Advisor to review and present, either to the National Security Council or to the President. Being the National Security Advisor, does it make sense that he would have, or doesn't it make sense that he would have an underling on the National Security Council staff to set up this chat? And if he did so personally, set up the chat, then what is he doing with Goldberg's number around these people's numbers? Make it make sense to me. In an interview with ABC News Live, Goldberg told Lindsay Davis he received a message request on the Signal app from White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, or someone who's purporting to be Mike Waltz, on March the 11th, 2025. Goldberg said he accepted the request and nothing happened or occurred until several days later when he was added to, and I quote, a group of seemingly very high national security officials of the United States. Well, that's correct. This means there were at least 2 opportunities for the person setting up the chat to recognize Goldberg was on the chat. When they initially sent out the invitation, and then when they sent out to tell him, all right, get on, we getting ready to talk. There was 2 opportunities for the person that set up the chat to say, oh, this person shouldn't be on the chat. How did this person get on the chat? Something as sensitive as war planning, surely you check the list at least twice and distribute once. Mr. Jackson told me, he says, measure twice and cut once. Why would the National Security Advisor or his underling have the phone number of the editor of the Atlantic magazine so available that it could get mixed up with the numbers of the national security leadership? This is where we ask ourselves, does that make sense? The answer is no. Not to me. Surely the members of the national security leadership has each other's numbers. It just doesn't make sense that the national security leadership would be in a chat with a phone number unknown to them. Or even more surprising, if true, does all of this leadership have Goldberg's number in their phone logs? I mean, there's a strange number and you don't recognize it, or it's a number that you recognize. What really is going on? Are you thinking? For the sake of time, we will just chalk that up for them being stupid. Let's get back to the thinking. If it wasn't a mistake, then Goldberg was added into the chat intentionally, and it doesn't look like it was a mistake to me. If it doesn't make sense, that was a mistake to put Goldberg on the chat, and it was done intentionally, then we have to ask ourselves, why would somebody include a reporter in the chat that is about the bombing of Houthis in Yemen that's getting ready to go on a half hour later? Could it be, now watch this, could it be the person that actually set up the chat is a person that does not support the Duck administration's reasoning for bombing the Houthis? And if Waltz is really responsible, as he's saying he is, does this show he was putting the reporter in the chat, hoping the reporter would tell the world and possibly stop the bombing? That's something to contemplate. Is he a crack in Duck's ultimate loyalty requirement? If so, why? Let's explore that a little bit more. Why was Duck authorizing the bombing of the Houthis in Yemen? The Houthis are disrupting the flow of commerce through the Red Sea. The Red Sea is a vital waterway that connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Indian Ocean and plays a pivotal role in global trade. This narrow passage is crucial for maritime transportation. The Houthis have declared their determination to continue hindering Israeli ships' commerce, specifically Israeli ships, from navigating in the Arab and Red Seas. The Houthi spokesperson, Mohammed Abdel Salam, emphasized this stance, saying, and I quote, "We will not give up targeting Israeli ships or ships heading towards ports in occupied Palestine." He further clarified their actions as being in support of the Palestinian people. So American policy is to support the genocide being waged in Palestine by Zionists who have stolen Palestinian land, just like the Europeans who stole the land which is now known as America. Gaza's Ministry of Health said on the 23rd of March, 2025, that at least 50,021 Palestinians have been killed and 113,274 have been wounded since them Zionists, and I don't like to call that place Israel because that's not Israel, that's occupied Palestine. Since October the 7th, 2023, they have killed 50,021 Palestinians and killed or wounded 113,274. That's more than the number, of those 50,021 that have killed, according to UNICEF, more than 14,500 of those were children. That's more than the number of children killed in 4 years of war worldwide. Is it possible that someone in Duck's national security leadership got a heart and intentionally included Goldberg in the chat, hoping he would tell the world and possibly help stop this genocide? Can it be that someone in Duck's national security leadership actually has a conscience? Could someone in Duck's national security leadership actually be questioning whether being this American is who they want to be? Do you want to be that kind of American? This is the question that American people must ask themselves. Do y'all value American citizenship so much that you are willing to kill 50,000 people, 14,500 of them babies, to help Zionists steal Palestinian land in order to keep your citizenship, to say I'm an American? If I got to kill or allow 50,000 people to be killed, 14,500 of them children, in order to be an American, I'd say kill them because I want to be an American. Is that you? We know that some think like that. But the question is, do you? Are you the kind of person that supports theft? Killing to keep what's stolen when it is innocent little children being killed? Is that the kind of person you are? Or you want to be? Really? In these times, this question is really pertinent for Americans, and especially those Americans of African heritage. Here's why. Yemen sits on the east side of the Red Sea, while Ethiopia sits on the west side. Ethiopia is the only African country that fought and beat the white folks who, after their meeting at the Berlin Conference, attempted to put us all Africans, in bondage. Ethiopia, obviously, is on the African continent. Africans were stolen from the continent by white folks and brought to the Americas across the Atlantic Ocean. In South America, white folks set up breaking camps to make us into slaves to be brought and sold to North America, or more specifically, the United States. They came right across, right there on the African continent, the Horn, where Angola is, came across and docked right there in Brazil. The white folks cannot break most of us. This African breaking process was called seasoning. Seasoning involved the dehumanization of human beings, Africans, and our preparation by the enslavers for the marketplace and inhumane labor. Enslavers accomplished this preparation, this so-called seasoning, by treating us harshly, subjecting us to a brutal regimen of training and violence. Lasting, now get this stuff, this seasoning lasted between 1 and 3 years. This process of breaking was physically and psychologically devastating and was marked by brutality and coercion. Slaveholders resorted to force and violence in order to subdue us and extract our labor. Enslavers regularly beat us, maimed us, and placed us in stocks or solitary confinement. In one particular cruel practice, watch this, listen to this, the slaveholder would whip a naked sister, who was often pregnant, pour salt, pepper, or wax into her open wounds, and would have no regards for the child she was bearing. They didn't care whether they killed her nor the child. The white folks could not break most of us because there is still 130 to 150 million of us still in South America. And of the more than 40 million of us that were brought to the United States, or that are here in the United States now, all of us were not broken. We have many that are still broken and are trying to be a good citizen in a country that continually shows us we are not wanted, respected, and kills us with impunity. Duck just has no shame in his game. He asked us, as a candidate, what did we have to lose? Many of us, more of us than usual, heard this question and decided to vote for Duck. Many of us looked at the Democratic Party and saw that Duck had a point and voted for him. I didn't vote for Duck, but Duck has a point. What can you look at that the Democratic Party has done for us as people of African heritage? And we're the biggest voting bloc that they have. What have they done for us? We're still on the bottom end of the totem pole. And it ain't been just Democrats, it's been Republicans too. But Duck done took it to another level. And he fooled a bunch of people. He even fooled them white folks that voted for him. When you talking about being able to look at the Democratic Party and seeing Duck as a better choice, this is an indictment of the Democratic Party. Many of our people looked at the Democratic Party and saw what we were getting from the Democrats as not being enough to stay loyal to them. Although I agree with the people that defected, because I don't see anything so valuable that I would be a blue dog Democrat, nor do I, or did I, see anything on the Republican side that would have caused me to vote for Duck. Walk with the elder. Al Sharpton, Leonard Jeffries, and most of all of these elected Democrat officials of African heritage, even though Sharpton is not elected, but he's right there with him, and he is of African heritage. They're showing themselves still to be broken because they publicly support the carnage being carried out by Zionists in Palestine. Now, don't take what I'm saying as being that I'm mad at them. Well, I'm not happy. And they shouldn't be supporting that which they know is not right. But this is an observation. Even before October 7th, 2023, the previous year was already the deadliest on record for Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. I'm calling Sharpton and Jeffries and Mark Mariel, all of them. I'm calling them out because I don't believe their parents raised them to go along with what they're going along. I don't think their parents raised them to support the genocide of any people, let alone the Palestinian people, and the carnage that when you buy into America's policy that you support by calling yourself an American. And the point that I'm making here is even before October the 7th, and they say that they support the Zionists because of October the 7th, because the Hamas went in there and showed that they was tired of the killing. Even before all that happened, the previous year was already the deadliest on record for Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. It is understandable that Hamas will respond as it did in an effort to stop the Zionist death being rained on them. They had to do something. You talking about men, women, and the babies being killed by Zionists who wanted to still have stolen Palestinian land and are mad that the Palestinians want it back. Gaza was created by Israel, the Zionists, and again, I hate to call it Israel, occupied Palestine, and Zionists. Gaza was created by Zionists in 1948 as a refugees camp to contain displaced Palestinians who had been pushed off of their stolen land. Since 2007, Israel has kept Gaza under an illegal military siege. They even count the calories that are allowed into the country. And they permitted the water in Gaza to become undrinkable. So they don't let them eat as much as they need to eat. And if they drink, they got to drink water that is not fit to be drunk. This created a humanitarian situation that was condemned by the international community. Al, my brother Sharpton, accused pro-Palestinian demonstrators of cowardice for interrupting Jeffries at the National Action Network convention. Sharpton felt the demonstrators should have had the courage to interrupt white folks that also had attended the convention. And he talked about governors, even Biden. But he felt that they should have disrupted them and not solely disrupt Jeffries. Sharpton, you might have a point. I don't know whether the demonstrators were afraid or were just hurt more because one of us was supporting Palestinian death, which is so egregious to most of us, and it should be to you. Sharpton's point, your point, still does not justify your support for them Zionists. Your mama ain't raised you like that, man. I don't believe that. In a letter, Sharpton, you stated the following about the Hamas 7 October 2023 response to Zionist murderous theft of Palestine. This is what you said. We condemn this terrorist attack on Israel, my brother, in which civilians have been targeted, killed, and kidnapped. The statement, watch this, signed by Mark Morial of the National Urban League, Derek Johnson of the NAAC, and wow, man, did y'all's mama raise y'all like that? I don't believe it. This statement actually shows support for the Zionist theft of Palestinian land. Their support, Al, Mark, Derek, your support for them Zionists show that you are broken. You suffer from the seasoning delivered to us in the slave-breaking camps. Now, Sharpton, Jeffries, Mark, and all the rest of you, I'm sure you would not call yourself broken. You probably think that you're slick and just know how to play the game. Let me insert a caveat here because it goes along with that point. The message of being slick and knowing how to play the game was the message that Alexander Lamar displayed at his halftime 2025 Super Bowl performance. The message was, as revolutionaries, they can still be about the revolution and slick enough to make money off those with whom the revolution is being waged. My talented young folks, listen to the elder. I hear you, but what did you do with the money? Is all the money made just for personal consumption? Did you use some of the money to help those that are not broken, who are on the front lines waging that revolution, of which your entertainment speaks? Talk to the elder. Diana Ross, when Elaine Brown left the Black Panthers helped her to situate herself. She used her money to help sister situate herself. What are you doing? And if you're doing something I don't know about, tell me. Get a message to me. It's time for us to start working together. That includes Sharpton, Marial, and Johnson too. It's time for us to come together. And I'm calling folks out because out of love. This is a critique, even a criticism out of love. Quit it. That's no way to behave. There are no, that I'm aware of, notable public statements from, and I said Alexander Lamar, I'm talking about Kendrick Lamar, specifically addressing the Israel-Palestine conflict. Jay-Z has not spoken publicly about Gaza, Israel, occupied Palestine, or Palestine. Jay-Z has been challenged about some of his lyrics being anti-Semitic in his offering entitled The Story of O.J. But I cannot find any statement of you, J.C., addressing the carnage going on in Palestine. And I'm not mad at y'all being slick enough to make some money off of our oppressors. But I'm saying if you're going to do that, don't use it all for just personal consumption. Use some of that to neutralize that oppression that the rest of us are feeling. And JC, I know you done some things on that incarceration end, and that's laudable. But there's a bigger fight going on. And you need to get into this bigger fight. Walk with me. Sharpton, Jeffries, and all of y'all probably also see speaking out in support of Israel as being in their political and financial interests. But also, it's not right. I understand, JC, if you had spoken out about the carnage that's going on in Palestine, occupied Palestine, then more than likely it would have been bad for business because you wouldn't have got the contract to put on the entertainment at the Super Bowl. I understand that. But is it worth it? It's allowing 50,021 deaths, 14,500 of them children. Is that worth the money you made or the notoriety you gained from being able to be the promoter at the Super Bowl? This is the elder, man. I'm unbossed. Unbossed. And unafraid of the truth. We've got to raise as a people. We're better than that. We're better than that. Now understand, now walk with me. Understand, the struggle in Palestine is not our fight. It's not ours. But we must pay attention. And we must speak out. We don't have to fight it. But we fight that war. That's not our war to fight. But we need to pay attention to it and speak out about it because of compassion for humanity. We should engage here in the actual fight. We must not engage in the actual way, but we must lend our voice to express opposition to what is going on. And see, the beauty of it is you can do that through your music. You can take artistic liberties. Are you listening to me? The elder is unbossed, and unafraid of the truth the whole truth, and nothing but the butt-naked truth. What about you? I'm concerned about you, young people. Sharpton, you ain't too young, nor Moriel, but the youngsters who's out here, y'all rolling. I ain't got no problem with you rolling. But have a conscience, have a heart. Duck and broken Democrats see the supporting of the theft of Palestine and the murder of Palestinians as being in America's and their interests. Lamar, JC, I'm betting privately you don't see it that way. And you haven't said nothing because you look at it being bad for business. But all money, my brothers, is not good money. As Pan-Africans, we also look at what's in our interests, which also importantly includes what's morally right. I'm making money, but at whose expense? Interests changed, or interests change. What's in your interest changes. What's right is going to be right. It is obvious that Duck has changed some of America's interests in spite of what is right. And that's not to say that what was happening prior to Duck that was saw to be in America's interest was right, but Duck done took it to another level. Duck is having young girls picked up off the streets and exported, trying to export her, because they do not support the genocide happening in Palestine as was experienced by the Tufts University student Rumeysa Ozturk. Duck is just a cruel white male. But let me get back to the analysis and that which is our Pan-African fight. Ibrahim Rasool, South African ambassador to the U.S., was expelled for comments he made on a webinar that included him saying the mega movement was partly a response to a supremacist instinct. He should have said a white supremacist instinct, but he just said a supremacist instinct. Duck not only expelled the ambassador, but also issued an executive order last month cutting off all funding to South Africa, alleging its government is supporting the Palestinian militant group Hamas and Iran, and pursuing anti-white policies at home. And he got some nerve. As Pan-Africanists, we support the right for Palestinians to take their land and are not mad at any country that helps them to do so. In fact, we question why other Arab states besides Iran are not helping their Palestinian Muslim brothers. What's up with that? Your relationship with Duck and white folks in America is more important than the lives of your Palestinian brothers, Muslims? Make that make sense to me. I mean, it's the same dichotomy that Americans got here when you're talking about the policy of killing or helping them Zionists kill them people over there. Do you want to be that kind of American? Or put to you, specifically to you, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, do you want to be that type of Muslim? You act like you've been seasoned. Pan-Africanists support South Africa's government retaking the land stolen by white folks in South Africa and paying them white folks not one red cent. In fact, them thieves should be ran out of the country. And I mean literally ran out of the country. Let them come to America. But Duck says they can come. Let them come here. Get up off our land. And we need to go back. Some of us are not broken. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has spiritual sons that continue to carry on his legacy, and they are not broken. Minister Farrakhan and the Honorable Silas Muhammad, with their followers, has shown themselves to not be broken, because both of them call for our people to separate ourselves from the America's evil ways. However, and unfortunately, these great men, these two great men, are divided. The Honorable Malik Zulu Shabazz is trying to bring them together. Brother Shabazz, at the request of Brother Silas, has written a letter to our brother Farrakhan requesting for these men's unity to send an important revolutionary message to the Pan-African world. Both of these great men are aging. I know something about that myself. And have the health challenges that come with aging. It is reported that Minister Farrakhan recently had surgery. We pray that Allah, our Father, which art in heaven, blesses both he and Brother Silas with enough life so that their unity is a part of our legacy. What would be the impact of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's spiritual sons' unification? The unity of these great men will send a message here in America and around the world, especially to our people on the continent, and specifically to our people in the Sahel, that Pan-Africanism is on the rise in the diaspora. It will set the example for Africans here in America to set aside our differences and come together. The time is now. America has expelled our South African ambassador, picking up young college women off the streets, locking them up, placing humans in an El Salvador prison that brags and is proud to announce that it is against the odds for someone to leave that place alive. We still got police shooting us on a regular basis, especially shooting unarmed African men down in the American streets on a regular basis, plus taking away health care, food for the school children to eat, jobs, federal jobs, and the list goes on and on. Americans must ask themselves if this is the American they want to be. And as a Pan-African, nah. Even though I have citizenship and on paper I'm an American, I don't want to be that person. No, we better than that. We better than that. Africans born in America most definitely must ask ourselves this question. I say it's time to separate. Let's go home to our beloved Africa. Stay tuned. to www.ajabuspeaks.squarespace.com for future developments from a Pan-African perspective as to the unity effort that has been initiated. Ajabu Speaks airs every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern on www.919witt.org. I say that's every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern on www.919witt.org. Unbossed, and unafraid. A Pan-Africanist who's going to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt naked truth. You know I ain't got but one question for you. You ready? Really?